Okay, it's time to do the long hair on the back of our rabbit. His face looks so great. Now, as I was looking at this, which is part of art, I realized that I created some of these shadows kind of in the wrong place, which really isn't like detrimental, but I'm going to go ahead and clean those up. Now, I'm not going to bother with erasing these because as I add more hairlines, they're just going to get lost in the mix anyways. But I am going to go ahead and add, so this one, instead of parting all the way up here, should have probably come here. Yeah. And darkened out this way. Yeah. And then I am going to kind of erase this a little bit so I don't confuse myself. Yeah, because that's not really there. Okay, so yeah, his little hip shadow is a little bit farther in and farther down than I had it. Okay, good. Okay, now the face took us quite a while, so the back, it's going to take us quite a while too. But I want to give you the gist of how to do it without making you watch every painstaking little pencil mark. Alright, so as we look at our reference picture, we see up here where he had that little white outline around his face. You've got some white hairs that are kind of longer and then this dark shadow. So we're going to come right back up next to that white space and we're going to start creating some darker hairs. Again, these are longer, so they're going to taper towards the tips. Pressing a little bit harder. I mean, it's not so hard that I am denting my paper. And this particular pencil is has a pretty soft lead, so it puts down more graphite for me. Right. So I'm gonna angle my paper a little different so you can see better. Just gonna lay down a bunch of hair marks now, following the lines that I already made. The shape. Okay, these are gonna be a little bit lighter as I get away from my shadow area. Okay, there's my shadow. Looks super scribbly. That's okay. Now I'm gonna soften it up by adding some more medium colored lines around the tips and edges of it. The hairs right around here, around his little shoulders, they kind of waterfall, have like a little arcing shape. And there's some of them are pretty long. So I'm leaving space between on purpose because that's going to show, the paper is going to show through there and it's going to look like highlights. Okay, his fur. Okay, so right here we went out and then it kind of goes over a bit. So we're gonna do that. Actually, this should be a light space. I apologize. This should be kind of a light area in here, and some of the white hairs stretch out over the shadow. So that's why I'm creating kind of like these little triangle shapes, so I'll remember to leave those kind of wider. Of course, you can always come back in with your pencil eraser, and then arcing, turning, curving down. Alright, light, very light right here. This is supposed to be a highlight area. some of the crumbs off. Alright, we're not anywhere near done with our rabbit's body, but I want to give you an idea of how to finish it up without making you watch me do the whole thing. Okay, so I'm just going to try to finish up just this little section right here so you can kind of see. Okay, right under his chin, it's a little bit darker because of his face shadow. Right. I'm using real long lines right here, but they're very soft too, because I want to get, see how it's rounded a little bit there? Again, I'm going to keep calling it this paintbrush shape, because that's what hairs tend to want to do. In clumps, they kind of taper at a point. A little more shade and shadow right here. It's looking pretty scribbly. That's okay, we'll fix it. And then over here. And we'll come back and we'll redefine our whiskers if they get lost in our new shading. That's fine too. Okay, he's a shaggy man. It's really dark right here. Because his little feet are under there. Okay. And there's some toes. And his toes look pretty dark. And they're not super in focus, so we can just kind of go back and forth where the toes are. And then let the hair overlap over the toes.